Hey, it's David. Today I'm doing an upgrade on the 390 Duke. It's one that's a bit overdue, but I needed to wait until I'd got the piggyback connected to the bike, which you can see in my previous video on this bike. So today I'm doing a decat. So I'm taking off the cat and the pre-silencer from the bike. Some people do this because they want more power. Nah, that one's a bit dodgy. Sometimes you get more power, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can get less power by playing with your exhaust. You need to know what you're doing. You need to be following a proven path if you don't have the ability to do the right testing yourself. Anyway, I'm not interested in power. There's two reasons that I'm doing this. One is I want the bike a little bit louder, which is what typically happens with the decat. And that's because I do a lot of filtering through heavy traffic. And I like people to be able to just hear me as I'm coming up behind them, because it reduces the number of times that people will just cut across lanes when you're about to go past that point. So that's the one reason. And the second reason is I want to move the exhaust pipe a little bit further away from the rear shock, because they can overheat the rear shock a bit, which doesn't do your suspension a lot of good. Anyway, enough of that. Let's have a look at what we need to do. So this is the exhaust system of the bike from this side of the bike. Now you've got the header pipe that comes from the engine, comes up to here. There's a clamp, and here we have the cat. There's another clamp, and here we've got the pre-silencer. This is the one that sits here, and as you can see, this is all very close to the shock, and the heat comes up here, so you can have heat problems with the rear shock. So a lot of people like to actually just get this a bit further away to help that. Now, to get the cat out, all we need to do is to remove this clamp, this bolt and this bolt to take the clamps out, but obviously we can't get out until we've got the pre-silencer out. Pre-silencer has another clamp on the other side of the bike which holds the tailpipe on and the slip-on onto it. Now if you've watched my video of putting the me changing the slip-on, you'll have seen me remove that, so that's really easy to do. Once you've got the clamps off, there is a bolt here, and there's a bolt the other side, and there's a long bolt that goes right across the bottom. Now, some people reckon it's really hard to get these out. It's a bit tight. I suspect they may be leaving the cat on, because I don't see any reason why there should be any particular issue in getting this out down. Once we've got everything unbolted, we're going to take the rear silencer off. As I say, we're going to take these clamps off, and then it should all come out. Famous last words. Let's see how it works out. So underneath the bike on the other side, we've got the bottom of the pre-silencer, and we have a clamp here. So I'm just going to loosen this off. Now, with all exhaust bolts, you're going to have a problem of heat and rust. So especially around the other side where things haven't been apart for a while, we might have a problem. Right, there's a spacer lives in here, so don't lose that. And all we need to do is to wiggle this off and out the way. Now there's a seal in here. You may need to replace it. I didn't the last time I had this apart, but I have bought a spare, and there's a seal at the top of the cat as well, which again I've bought in case I need it. So that is now ready to move. We now need to get the actual silencer, the slip-on, off. Because I'm running this aftermarket Akrapovic exhaust, I've got springs here to hold this on. The stock is just a single pipe, so you don't need to worry about this. And in fact, I could probably leave this alone, but when putting the exhaust back together, I prefer to mount all the parts individually so that you can get everything in just the right place. Now, in theory, I should be able to just pull these off. There we are. So this link pipe here is now separate from this. I just need to unbolt this. So I did seal these together so that it wouldn't leak, so it looks like I'm paying the price for that. But anyway, deal with that in a minute if I want to. So let's see how easily these clamps come off. Now, again, what we can see is we have the Allen bolt, a washer, and in here there's a spacer, and this is a nut that's part of the actual exhaust. Can be a good idea to get some penetrating oil into here a few days or a week or so before you start trying to do this, because it will make sure these bolts come out easier. But don't lose these spacers. I'm taking it out so it doesn't drop and go rolling off somewhere. And then I'm going to try and just get it back off the joint enough it frees up the cat, so it's not holding the cat on anymore, which is its job. There we go. So that's out of the way. At the bottom of the cat down here there is another one. You can tell this bike is still quite new and hasn't done a lot of miles. Now this is the one you're going to drop that spacer when this clamp comes undone. So I'm going to turn the clamp around. So that I can catch it. And then once again, try and get this clamp out of the way. It would be nice if I could get it up. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. So with that clamp out the way, what we've got is a nut in here. And there's one just like it on the other side. So I'm going to take these off. I'm going to loosen these first. I'm not going to take them out because I'm going to use these to hold this silencer in place while I take the bottom one out. So up here is the bolt. So you can see it's at the front of the pre-silencer. I don't think my camera is focusing very well. So that's out. So once I've got that other bolt removed from the top, we should be able to drop this down. And now we're going to find out just how easily this really does come out. Definitely some weight on that bolt now. Now you can expect there to be some friction here between the cap. There we go, so that's loose. But it is a very tight friction fit on that lower mounting. So I've just tapped it with a rubber mallet using a soft hammer. And we now have some movement out of it. So it really is true. It is a very tight fit in there, and the problem is this spacer bar here. It's an absolute friction fit up in the frame, so I suggest, now you've seen this, you put something underneath this so it doesn't smack into the floor. But pre-silencer removed. And with that out of the way, we can remove the cat as well. I'm using a Leovince decat pipe. Now they do several of them, but as usual with these parts, I bought it cheap off eBay. So it is what it is. One of the reasons why I'm not trying for power, because I'm not going a specially programmed route. So this just slots up in through the frame in replacement to that. As you can see, it has a bit of a pre-silencer. I'm not quite sure whether it's some sort of cat or pre-silencer in there. I haven't researched because I'm not too worried. There's a mount here. It comes with a spacer and a bolt, and it goes into that bottom mount that the pre-silencer mount came into. So this will go up to here and onto that gasket, clamp back on. This then tightened up, clamp tightened, and we can then reattach the silencer. So, wiggle away up there. Put the spacer in. Now I've cleaned and put some grease on the bolt. Always recommended, especially with anything to do with exhaust. Just leaving that loose. Now, because I've only done it up loosely, we can see that needs to sit there. You can put a sealant in here if you haven't got a new gasket. My gasket, I've had a quick look at it, looks pretty good, so I'm happy to leave it as is. Now we just need to get this clamp back on, and certainly check it for leaks on all of this stuff. If you do get a leak, either buy a new gasket. It's some sort of soft metal leady, I don't know what it is, or you can do what I tend to do, is just to top it up with a bit of black RTV sealant, high temperature sealant, which works very well on exhausts. Now, which way did this go? Oh yes, that went this way, didn't it? Right, now we need to get that on there. There we are, so that it's square. Don't forget our spacer. But first I'm putting some, it'd be a good idea to clean that up a bit. Now normally I would do this with a wire wheel, but given this is a relatively new bolt and it's just dirty more than anything else. Wire brush is absolutely fine. So, high temperature grease, copper grease in my case, whatever you use wherever you are. Make sure that is really properly sealed and get this at an angle where you'll be able to get onto it. Not going to do it all the way up just yet because I want to get the whole exhaust locked down, so I want to leave myself a little bit of movement. This is still almost done up but not quite, so let's go and put the silencer on. Now you may be able to see this is missing its seal on this one, so I'm going to put a new one in. I could try and reuse the one from the old one, but I won't. As you can see, I bought the seal from KTM. Carefully put that on. Now we'll see how well that lines up. If I'm not happy how well it's lining up, I'm going to detach this link pipe here and reset it. So I'm just going to put that in there loosely for a moment. Just take the weight. Now don't forget, this is a different silencer, so you may well need to adjust things to make it fit. Having to move the clamp a little bit on the silencer. Seems pretty good to me. Yeah, more grease on the bolt. And where's our spacer? Make sure you get it all seated properly, because this isn't at the moment. And I only do this clamp up when you're happy, because if it's not on there square, it's gonna leak. Okay, I'm now going to recheck the fit of this, make sure I'm happy that all these clamps are on tight and in the right place. I'm going to put some grease on this bolt and then I'm going to tighten it all up. And that's it. That's all there is to installing a cat delete on this bike. Now I would recommend, again, as I said, if you've got a Gen 2 bike that's 2017 onwards, i.e. this body shape, then you get a piggyback before you do this. You might get away with it, you might not. You probably will, but personally I wouldn't chance it, having blown up an engine in the past. Still not rebuilt. But so get yourself a piggyback, then cat delete. That way you can be sure the bike will cope with any increase in air going through and add enough fuel to compensate. We'll see what the power's like, we'll see what the sound's like. But thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this has been useful to you or you've enjoyed watching it, so that you can keep up with the next updates on the bike. And I have got a few more coming over the coming weeks. I've got parts coming, so there's some stuff to do, some things which I think are interesting. But let's have a quick look at what it actually looks like, and then I will see you soon. That's a significant increase in the loudness of the bike.